We talk a lot about building apps on this channel, but something that we need to talk more about is how to grow them. That's why in this video, I'm bringing on Nico to give you a masterclass in getting customers using Facebook ads. If you've never run Facebook ads before, this video is going to give you an exact playbook of how to get started. And if you are running Facebook ads, this video is going to give you some really helpful tips. Let's jump in.
Hi, I'm Nico. So I've been running ads for almost 10 years now. I grew and sold my previous company, Talk Notes. I grew it to, I think, 7,000 of MRR before selling it for 200,000. Then I did it again with another app that was basically a clone of Talk Notes, but for veterinarians. And I also grew it this time to 1,300 MRR, and then I sold it for 20,000.
And you're using Facebook ads mainly, or what kind of ads are you typically using?
Yeah, I'm using Meta ads only.
Let's talk about what are like the first few things people should do. How do they take action to actually set things up or thinking about creating their ads? I think you've also have some tools that you've built to help with that maybe you could talk about, but also just like from if you're just starting out, what do people need to know and do?
Yeah, so the very first thing when it comes to ads and especially social ads, so that would be ads on Meta, but also Reddit, LinkedIn, is that it's all about catching people attention, like then making good creative. So the creative is going to be like the image, the video, or whatever. So it's a very different logic than like search ads, because like Google ads, you just show your ad where people are already looking for, your ad can blend in. So there is already some kind of intent. People are searching for something, but with social ads, people are scrolling. They are like on the break, in the bathroom, or it's just, they don't really look for your product. They're not necessarily in search mode. So you really have to stand out to get their attention, basically. Otherwise, you will just keep scrolling and you will have spend money for nothing because you pay per impression. So every time someone see your ad, you're going to pay some money, unlike Google where you pay per click. Here you pay every time someone see your ad. It's very important to spend not necessarily lots of time, but the time necessary to make good creative and catch people's attention.
And what are some things that are working right now or that you think people should keep in mind to try and have the ad catch people's attention?
That's the golden question, because like every advertiser is trying to figure that out. So
Yeah.
that constantly changes, because what happens is every time a format start to work, then everyone copies it. And then, you have what you call like ad fatigue. So people get bored of a certain format, especially if they keep seeing the same advertiser and same ad like over and over. You have to like constantly renew yourself. So it's a bit of a tricky question.
Yeah.
I would say you can still do well. You can still do well with image, like really simple and cheap image ads. I did that for the veterinarian app I sold. All my ads, I had no video, no expensive ads. Most of my ads were just plain text, like just a sentence on a white background, because I made it so the ad was really relevant for the audience. So they were like veterinarians, for example. And I knew that lots of them spend lots of time at the office doing administrative tasks, and they hate that. So my ad was basically something like, spending late nights at the office, question mark, or stuff like that, that they immediately like, oh, wow, that's me. So you want them to feel this, that's me thing.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, that ad is made for me. I'm going to read the ad copy, and then maybe they're interested and they click on the ad, they're on the landing page, and then they sign up. But it all starts with the ad, like where you have to actually catch the attention to then redirect the attention to the ad copy that redirect the attention to the landing page, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And what about image versus video these days? Do you see one working better than the other?
It's better to have a good relevant image than a bad video, but if you can have videos, it's better, because the way it works, the algorithm is not only going to consider your bid in terms of money, just for the context. So when you're in ads, you are bidding against other advertisers. So let's say there is a person who you want to target, maybe other advertisers want to target this person. So then it's going to be a bid, like each advertiser is going to be like, oh, maybe I want to spend, I don't know, 5 cents to reach this person. Maybe another one would be 6 cents. So it's all automated. You don't actually do that, but just for the context. But the algorithm don't just consider the money. So it does also consider the quality of the ad. And one of the things that people usually are more engaged with are videos. So videos, I would say, naturally perform better than ads. But if you make a bad video, it's not going to work anyway. If you can do videos, but or if you cannot, like if you know you can make a great image ad, then it's better to make a good image ad than a bad video, basically.
Got it. Got it. And are there AI tools that you're using right now to help with that? Do you recommend that? Do you recommend just doing something in like Canva? What are some of the like tools that you might recommend for creating those images or videos?
Yeah. So the thing is, and I'm saying that as someone who has literally a tool to generate ads with AI, but I would not recommend it for beginners. And the reason is because so AI tools are great at making variations of ad that already exist, and you want some like small incremental changes. But especially when you're starting out, I think it's really important that you understand what make a good ad, and you won't be able to judge if the AI make a good ad or not. And there are plenty of tools that can do that. Some are more expensive than others, but you can just do something on Canva for really cheap. So I would really recommend that over using any like fancy AI tools. You can use ChatGPT too. You can just find an ad that is already working and then ask it to tweak it for you, or you can use generate ads. That's my app. But again, I would recommend playing around with Canvas if you can. Is just, in my opinion, it's just better for beginners. It's just, you get used to making ads, and once you really understand, okay, what makes a good ad or not, then you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you. Because from my experience, it's almost impossible to one shot a great ad like directly. Like you will need some little tweaks here and there. It's going to be expensive or hard to do it with AI. Because ChatGPT, the more you ask it to edit an image, the worse the quality gets. There was all those videos, it kept repeating the same prompt, and at the end, like the image was all like yellow and like really horrible. So you don't want to repeat the same iteration too much on ChatGPT. And if you use AI tools, it's going to be expensive because I think it costs at least 4 cents per image. So it's 4 cents, then 4 cents, then another, etc. So yeah, my answer is, especially if you're a beginner, Canva is really good.
Yeah.
You probably don't need more than that.
Got it. And yeah, what you said is interesting about you're probably not going to one shot an ad. Like, is the idea behind that? Like, your first ad is probably not going to be the winner, but you need to do that, test it, and then keep making changes to iterate on it. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah. So the thing with ads, lots of people have this idea of it's a machine where I put $1, I get $2 back. And I wish it was that easy, but it takes lots of trial and error. And most likely when you launch something, especially if it's your first time running ads, especially if you're all new to this, especially if you have a new product, there are lots of unknown. So when you launch an ad and you have a brand new product where you don't know if the product is good or not, you don't like, and the ad is not working, lots of people would be, oh, ads are not working. But in reality, it could be maybe the ad is not working, but although maybe your landing page is not working, or it's just the product on its own is just not a good product. There is lots of component to that. And that's why people generally tend to say like ads is for once you have some kind of proven product already, because you eliminate those uncertainties.
See, because if you don't know if
Yeah.
someone even wants to buy your product at all, you're going to send people to a landing page. Or if your landing page isn't set up in a good way for conversion, it's not going to convert. So maybe wait until you have at least some traction. So at least that part of it is somewhat ready. Is that right?
Yeah, I would tend to recommend that, especially for people who are new to ads.
Yeah.
Because as I said, lots of unknown and it costs money. It can be stressful.
Yeah.
You can still make it work. Like I did it for the veterinarian app because I knew the app was useful for them. Like I talk with veterinarians, so I already knew that it was somewhat like proven. So I just had to figure out the landing page and the ads. I knew a few other people who validate using ads. So I know it's possible, but it's just going to be harder, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on Meta, how much do you have to spend before you start getting some data on whether it's a good ad or not, or whether you should be changing it? Is this something that you know right away, or do you have to spend a lot of money to find out?
So I hate the answer. It depends, but it
Yeah.
depends.
Or yeah,
Uh,
where does it depend? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
so it depends on your audience basically and how competitive it is, or more how does it cost you to reach your audience. Because let's say, so
Mhm.
there are two components into ads, as I mentioned earlier. You have the finance, like the pay you part, and the quality of the ad. So if you have a really good ad, then your cost is going to be lower. It also depends on this. So it's going to be more in terms of impression, basically, every time someone see your ad. So I would say you can start to get an idea maybe after 1,000 to 5,000. And again, it depends on the ad or the product, depending on how much it costs to reach 1,000 people. So it's called the CPM. This is like the baseline metric to
Yeah.
how much your ads cost. And it can range from $5 to like over 100. So it really depends. It's impossible to know beforehand. Like if you target people, I don't know, like in India, it's going to be very cheap, for example. So you can spend $5 and have data, but then you want to work with the Indian market. So it's very specific. But if you only want, for example, in the US and you have something in the pet industry, it's super expensive because you have lots of e-commerce players and etc. So it's really expensive. So if you target this industry, obviously it's going to be much, much more expensive than if you targeted India, for example. So again, it's impossible to say, but I would say like at the very least 1,000 impression. Otherwise, you cannot really get an idea. Sometimes you need more, but yeah, if that
Right.
answers the question.
I hope you're enjoying this interview. If you're a vibe coder and feel overwhelmed by all of the vibe coding tools out there, I created a daily email that summarizes all the important updates from the day before and sends it to you in a concise daily brief. Click the link in the description to subscribe for free. So it depends, obviously, everything depends on how valuable your audience is, which makes a lot of sense. If you're trying to target people in the US who are doctors, they're going to be,
Yeah.
Facebook's going to, or Meta is going to charge you a lot more money than someone who's just in India based on country, how much they're willing to spend, things like that. But it sounds like within maybe somewhere between $5 and $100, I guess. It depends. You can have some idea of whether your ad is working and whether you need to switch it up. But I guess that is good advice where if you are trying to reach a high value audience like doctors in the US, you wouldn't want to give up after $3 of spend because it's just not enough to know if it's working or not, basically. So you have to be willing to invest the money to see if it's going to work, which is helpful to know. The other question I have is in terms of ad variations, or something I've seen in Meta now is it seems like when you're creating an ad, you can like add multiple images or add multiple types of copy. They use AI to generate different text automatically. Are you just doing all of that in one ad unit, or are you still creating like multiple ones how do you think about that like basic setup right now?
Mhm. So the one I usually recommend, and that seems to be working well for most people, and again, it depends, but
Yeah.
that's the one I've seen myself because I've seen lots of ad accounts. So what has been working well in my experience is just having one campaign with, you have an option to define the budget at the campaign level instead of the ad set. So for people who are new to ads, you have one campaign where you define your goals. So for example, I want leads, I want purchase, etc. So that's what we call a campaign. And you can also define your budget. Then inside this campaign, you have ad sets. So ad sets, you define your audience there, basically. There are like a bit more things you can define there, but just to keep it simple, that's where you define your audience. So you can tell Facebook, I want to reach people who are, I don't know, doctors or whatever in whatever country you want. Yeah, that's where you define your audience. And then inside your ad sets, you have the actual ad. So the ad is going to be the visual part, the what we call the creative. So that's going to be the text, the video, like all that kind of stuff. So what I usually recommend is to have one campaign with inside 2 to 3 ad sets. So one with no targeting at all. I can go back to that after, but one with like interest. So, for example, on Facebook, you can target people who are interested in, I don't know, tech, startup, veterinary medicine, or like whatever stuff like that. And a last one where you can either use more interest for different group of like audience or whatever, or lookalike audiences. So lookalike are audiences of people similar to people who like already visited your website or purchased and stuff like that. So you can, if you already have like the tracking installed on your website and you have an audience built like on Facebook, then you can use that. Otherwise, just use like interest or just use two ad sets basically. And then inside each of those assets, I like to have 3 ads. So that's going to be like 1 image or video per ad. And then you can have 2 ad copy and 2 headlines or something like that. So that's 1 campaign. Inside you have 2 to 3 ad sets.
Yeah.
And in each ad set, you have 1 ad with 1 like media. So 1 image, 1 video, 2 copies and 2 headlines. You don't have to have like actually 2 copies, but it's better because it gives Facebook more option to play around. Yeah, that's
Got it. Got it. And then using the same ad typically across all of the ad sets to see that way you're only changing the audience to see if who the ad resonates with the most, basically.
Yeah, so they're like you can try to have ads for specific audiences, but the thing is, especially like recently, Facebook has become way better at targeting. So I would say that the actual audience targeting in the ad set doesn't matter as much as before. And that's why I mentioned you can have 1 ad set with no targeting because Facebook will figure it out. Like they will see what kind of people you have a video ad. And that's why also why video are good because Facebook can figure out how many minutes people watch your video. So if most people watch 70% of your video, then it means that kind of people is probably interested and Facebook will try to find more using
Right.
their artificial intelligence algorithm. But even based on like engagement, clicks and stuff like that, yeah, it matters less. And so, yeah, you can just have the same ads on every like ad set.
Got it. Got it. And I guess obviously the cost per 1,000 views is going to change a lot depending on the audience. But are there any benchmarks in terms of click-through rate, for example, that are a little bit more standard that you can know, okay, this ad is engaging or this ad isn't engaging? Click-through rate being, for people who don't know, like the percentage of people who are clicking your link, basically, who see the ad.
Yeah, I would say the bare minimum would be 1% of outbound click-through rate. So important, you have 2 kind of click-through rate. You have like click-through rate like all, which is going to be every time someone click on your ad, but it doesn't mean they will go on your website. It can be like clicking on the play button, clicking on the like button, or like anything in the ad really. And then you have the outbound click-through rate, which is when they leave Facebook and they go on your landing page. At the very least, you want 1% of outbound click-through rate. Otherwise, it means something is wrong with your ad. I've seen people going up to 4%, something like that. So 4% is like really good. Obviously, you can do better than that, but I would say 2%, 3% is already it's decent.
Okay.
You can still have results, like good results with 2 to 3%.
Got it.
If
So
your
you're
landing page converts, obviously.
right. So if you're somewhere between 2 and 3%, you're at least in a good spot. If it's 1% or less, you should probably change the ad. And then if it is 2 to 3%, I guess is the next step then to say, okay, let's test versus another variation to see if we can beat that, basically. Is that how you think about it?
So
Or just,
yes and no, because
yeah.
it also depends on your time and resources.
Yeah.
Like making an ad that has 2 to 3%, especially like for beginner is, I would say, not common. So it's
Yeah.
going to take some work. So I would probably work on the landing page, try to increase the conversion rate. Like it means it's like it's working and like eventually you will reach like creative fatigue where people are don't want to see your ad anymore. You've exhausted the pool of like audience and you will need to make more ads. But I wouldn't necessarily try to keep topping up, especially if you have like a lower budget.
Right.
Like when you have like lower budget, and by that $50 per day is like a really low budget, you can still have the same ads running for quite a while before you reach that. So I would focus more on improving conversion rate and stuff like that.
That makes sense. And if you're at that 2 to 3% click-through rate, do you see Meta sometimes, like as the algorithm works better and finds better audiences, does that sometimes even improve over time before it hits ad fatigue or not really?
I wish I could say yes, but it depends.
Sometimes yes,
Um,
sometimes no. It just depends, basically.
yeah. Like in general, if there is a big pool of audience that could be interested by your ad, and Facebook start to understand, okay, this is the kind of people who watch the ad, then yeah. But often, based on my experience, it's more like it stays stable
Yeah.
instead of it just keep increasing. But sometimes it does. Sometimes it just tank after a few days. It depends.
Okay. Got it. Got it. One other kind of more technical question for people who might get stuck here when they're setting up their ad. I know there's the option to put in like a cost per result goal. So if you want to say, oh, I really only want to spend $20 per purchase, or if I'm getting leads, let's say for like a newsletter, I want to spend $1. Is that something you recommend putting in, or is that just going to hurt the campaign because it's going to restrict who it's sent to? How do you think about that?
Yeah, so I I never use that because
Yeah.
so the thing is, it's not, how do you say that? So you have two different ways of what you mentioned. So you have on Facebook, you have an option to pay per click, but it means your campaign goal will be traffic to get clicks. And that's something I didn't mention before, actually, but
Yeah.
you should never ask for traffic because Facebook is going to give you exactly what you ask for. So if you ask for clicks, they will show you ad to people who click on your ad. Whatever happens after, they don't care. So it could be like grandma who misclick or whatever, like you will get bad traffic.
Yeah.
That the only option where you can ask like to pay per click instead of pay per impression. There might be like a few others like pay per video view and stuff like that, but this is more like niche where most people will be interested in like conversion, I assume. So yeah, for this, I wouldn't do that. Now you also have another option to tell to Facebook, I want to bid a maximum of X amount for a conversion. And based on that, they will make predictions to only show your ad to audiences that could get you that kind of result for these costs. Yeah, it's a bit technical, but basically, if you have a number that's too low, which will most likely be the case, your ads will never get shown because Facebook think, okay, I cannot find
Right.
an audience that can get purchased for this amount. So I think almost every time I tried that, my ad wasn't shown.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's yeah, it used to be a thing, but now not really, not anymore.
Got it. Got it. And then, yeah. So taking a step back, you said always do a conversion ad, basically based on some conversion that you would have set up using the Facebook pixel on your site. Was that right?
Yeah, there are some exceptions with especially like video views and retargeting and like you have a bunch of like advanced strategies, but for most people, yeah, we want to have just classic conversion campaigns.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And then also as the meta algorithm and AI keeps getting better, it's going to get better and better at doing what you want, which is whatever you set it to. And then
Mhm.
you mentioned retargeting. Is that's getting a little bit more advanced, but maybe that's one of the most basic, more advanced things to do, essentially. Is that something you always do? Do you always do retargeting, or it also depends? Obviously, most of these are going to depend, I would think.
Actually, so I have a clear answer. Like in my case, I don't really use, I would say like formal retargeting. And the reason is because Facebook does it like kind of automatically now.
I see.
Whenever you launch a campaign, like Facebook will figure out, okay, like if there is people you can retarget, this is probably like in an audience that's easy to get purchases or conversions from. So they will probably prioritize that before cold audiences. If you don't if you don't exclude retargeting audiences, then Facebook will naturally do some retargeting. So I don't really need to, but I know some people prefer to control how much money goes into retargeting versus how much money goes into main conversion. So
Yeah.
you can also just exclude retargeting audiences from your main campaign and have another campaign for retargeting. But it can be useful if you have ads like creatives specifically for people who know you, who visited the website, and you want to show them like a special offer or something like that. But again, at lower budgets, especially if you're starting out, Facebook will actually do it on its own. So I don't really recommend doing that unless you have this need of, okay, I want to control the budget, I want to control the ads people see and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's really helpful. Do you ever use Facebook's, what is it, the Meta ad library for inspiration? Is that something that you recommend?
Yeah, it's a great tool. Actually, I'm building something related to that right now.
Oh, nice. Is that
Um,
something you want to talk about or not yet?
yeah, sure, I don't mind. So it's, I can go after the ad library, but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really useful because you can see you can see what competitors do and you can see how long ads have been running. So it's a great way to figure out if a competitor has ads running for like month, it probably means that it's somewhat working, or they wouldn't keep putting budget into it. So it's a great way to figure that out, but also see what kind of messaging competitors use or brands that are similar to yours. So yeah, I would highly recommend using it, and it's free, so it's yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Especially if you're just getting started and you want some ideas of things to get inspired by. And yeah, what are you working around that? And also, yeah, if you want to share any of the other tools that people can use that you've built, if you want to, whether you want to talk about it, if you want to share your screen and show it, whatever's best for you to help people understand.
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm working on AdKit. So it's a toolbox with multiple tools. So think of like Ahref, but for ads. So it's still in like closed version. So I'm in really at the early stages, but I do have some free tools and I will have some improved ad library because on Facebook it's a bit annoying to find exactly the competitor you want and you don't have necessarily like there are some insights that are a bit like not necessarily hidden, but yeah, so I'm building something like AdKit, which will be a toolbox, and we'll have competitor tracking. So you can have like when someone like a competitor launch a new ad, then you can receive like an email or whatever. But there will also be, I think, like a public version where you can see all the ads from like competitors have like timelines and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly how it will be, but yeah, it's just working on something.
Got it. Cool. And that's what is it going to also have the ability to generate ads within the kit as well?
So I plan to merge generate ads with AdKit eventually. Right now, generate ads is like standalone, generate ads.ai. But yeah, eventually it will be under like AdKit.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Yeah. So go to adkit.s and it looks like right now you can enter your email to get notified when it's ready. And there's some free tools as well. So definitely recommend checking that out
Oh,
and
and
entering your email. Maybe by the time you watch this video, it'll be live so you can use it right away.
yeah, maybe. Well, otherwise, like blog posts. So no AI generated stuff. It's just me writing everything manually and it goes like in depth. So it's, I think, a good way to learn ads for SaaS software apps and stuff like that specifically.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience or how people can follow you?
So I'm often on Twitter or X, Nico Ginen. I have my blog, ginen.com, my YouTube channel, but otherwise, no, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. This was great. You dropped a ton of knowledge for people about how to think about meta ads. And there's a lot here that I think is going to help people get around some of the mistakes they would make otherwise. And then also AdKit looks really cool. It sounds like it's going to be an amazing tool for people to use. So you should definitely check that out and it'll help you even more as you're scaling out your ads and learning more about it. So thank you so much, Nika, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.